the congressman couldn't be here today, but he wants all of you to know how important these issues are to him and how grateful he is for groups like yours that shine a light on these issues. And as you all probably know, the congressman consistently speaks out against all acts of racial or religious hatred, sectarianism of all kinds, or intolerance, no matter the faith and no matter the society. And he has a consistent record of doing so. He's spoken out against the inhumane treatment of Muslims in, for example, Xinjiang, China. He sort of led an effort to create a Uyghur caucus in the House. He was instrumental in passing and was a lead co-sponsor of the Uyghur Forced Labor Protection Act. And that bill will actually be on President Biden's desk soon. For many Hindus, for example, last month, he wrote a letter to Secretary of State Antony Blinken to highlight recent issues in Bangladesh. And during the Hindu festival of Durga Puja, there were some perpetrators who vandalized or torched dozens of homes and businesses in Hindu communities, and that led to a 7-day sort of period of sectarian violence. And sadly, people died and many people were injured in the hundreds. And it was one of the deadliest episodes of violence since 2016 of this kinds of religious violence. And these things they're rising in the region, right? I think some of what was shared a few moments ago, that's reflected in Bangladesh, that's reflected in Pakistan, that's reflected in India as well. So it's a very charged moment. And it's a moment that sort of requires people in Congress, diplomats, grassroots leaders, civil society to all shine a light on what's going on, to take these issues very seriously, to condemn and denounce all acts of religious hatred and violence, and to make sure that governments are held accountable, that political parties are held accountable as well. Journalists are doing this work, human rights lawyers are doing this work, and the congressman thinks it's very important to use his voice as well to ensure that people know what's going on and we can hold perpetrators accountable. So there are other areas of the world as well where the congressman has sort of spoken out. In Northern Ireland, more recently, he spoke out against sectarian violence, sort of things that haven't happened since the early 1990s that began to happen there. And that was a source of huge concern. And he's worked with constituents to ensure that civil society can make their voices heard. So he's been a national leader on this. He's also been a national leader on gun violence. And he asked me to share a statement with all of you today. And this is reflected in much of what he shared over the past few years, what he shared in the past few months, and indeed the past few days as well. And we have many meetings with constituents about these issues. And again, a range of different sort of religions and societies, ethnicities that are affected. And he asked me to share that, as he said many times, quote, "We must speak out loud and clear anytime anyone is harassed in prison, persecuted, tortured, or killed for seeking out to live their faith. An attack on religious freedom anywhere is an attack on religious freedom anywhere." Recent attacks on both Hindus in Bangladesh, and Muslims in India, and in the region more broadly are extremely disturbing, and governments must be held accountable. These are not the only places in the world with religious, ethnic, or racial hate or violence. Hate-fueled violence aimed at any person belonging to a religious minority on the basis of or in the name of religion, faith, or belief must always be condemned, and I always condemn it. I call on all groups in civil society to urge their governments to rein in extremists and encourage calm. Revenge and retaliatory attacks of any kind are never the answer. I applaud the work of journalists, human rights lawyers, nonprofit leaders, and other grassroots leaders that shine light on these issues and encourage citizens to promote religious tolerance and religious freedom. While I cannot be here today, I know that all of you, and I indeed also, will continue to be a tireless supporter of this important work, and I'll continue to lift up my voice to denounce sectarian and communal violence of all forms. Thank you, and I hope you all have a successful and productive meeting, and I look forward to working with you in the future. So that's the statement that he asked me to sort of provide for all of you. He also asked me to listen to all of your questions, all of your concerns, so that he has just the latest updates on the work that you're doing and any developments that maybe he's not aware of. As you know, the international press sometimes lags behind press in the countries, and we sort of have to compare information. Sometimes human rights reports and investigations come out several months, even years after certain events. So it's very important that he knows what's happening right now so that he can use his positionality in a way to shine a light and raise these issues. As I mentioned with the Uyghur Forced Labor Protection Act, he was an original co-sponsor of that. He used his voice to sort of call out what was happening in Xinjiang, and he did it repeatedly over the course of months and years to get that legislation passed. He is not shy about ensuring that we use our diplomatic tools to address these issues as well. And he does use his voice, whether it's on social media, other letters, speaking with constituents, et cetera, to address these issues as I've shared and discussed. So I'm here to be all ears. I'm here to take notes and to listen to anything that you want to share as well. And again, he sort of apologizes for not being able to be here in person today and thanks you for all the work that you're doing.